Patristic Nectar Kids. I am Kriya Destiny of Ascetic Life of Motherhood. I am an Orthodox Christian married to an Orthodox priest. Together we have 5 children that we're raising in the church. So here we like to talk about how we bring that life that we find in the church into our homes in an intentional way. And I have just given birth to my 5th child. And so as that process of preparing for birth, for naming our child, for including them into the life of the church through the many different prayers and services, I want to talk a little bit about godparents and choosing a patron saint, because I know this is something that if you're an adult convert, you'll have to encounter. And also as you are having more children in your family, you're going to have to consider, how do we name this child and how do we include them into God's family through the naming of our children and through the services and the prayers and adding to our family through godparents. So I hope you'll stick around and learn a little bit with me as we go into this topic.
An exciting change for Patristic Nectar Kids as we expand to Patristic Nectar Family. Orthodox Christian content for the whole family.
All right, I first want to talk a little bit about choosing a patron saint. So I myself am a convert. I became Orthodox in my mid-20s after I was already married. And so this was the first time I really encountered the idea of having a Christian name or having a saint name. And so as I was preparing for my baptism, my priest told me that I had to choose a patron saint. So I asked my priest for some guidance. I said, how do you choose a saint? And so he said something along the lines of, well, you find somebody that you feel connected to, you can read the lives of the saints and see if anything jumps out at you. And he gave me a short list of ones to read about and pray about and consider. And so that's what I did. And he also mentioned that sometimes you can find a patron saint based on a special date, maybe your birthday or, a special anniversary or something significant. Look on that day and see what saints are celebrated and consider those. So, like a good student, as a catechumen, that's what I did. I went and I read the lives of the saints, and I read the one that was celebrated on my birthday. And for some reason, I kept coming back to her because there was something about her story that really resonated with me. It reminded me of myself in some ways, her story. And so when it came down to choosing a patron saint, as an adult convert, I ended up choosing my patron saint, Saint Elena of Belgium, and she celebrated on my birthday. And after I had been Orthodox for a little bit of time, I encountered another saint that really captivated me. And I remember asking my priest, is it possible to change my saint? Because at this point, I didn't really know if I felt super connected to her and what that meant exactly. And so I asked him if I could change it after I'd already been received. And he kind of smiled and he's like, no, that's what you were baptized with. That's your name. And so I was like, oh, okay, misunderstood. I thought it meant that this one saint was like your saint and you couldn't really have these connections with other saints, but how wrong I was. No, we certainly can have connections and these special relationships with many different saints. In fact, if you look on our icon wall, there are many friends of Christ that we have learned about and become close with. There's going to be some that are in your local community as well. But your patron saint is the one that is interceding for you at the throne of Christ and who is your speedy helper. And so we can certainly rely on them specifically once you've been received. And then after we've taken on a patron saint, their name actually becomes our name. Okay, so this is really special. As Christians, we become part of the family of God and we take on a Christian name if we don't have one already. If you already have a Christian name, meaning it's named after a saint, I would consider keeping that. There's a reason why you were named that. And so we have a Christian name. And so as we're naming our children, we should, of course, give them a Christian name. This is a part of becoming a Christian, is having a Christian name. Now, you may or may not know this, but once you take on a patron saint, that name, like I said, becomes your name. And every time you commune, you will say that name as your name. And for any of the sacraments, when you are married in the church, you will use that name. When you are buried in the church at the end of your life, they will use that name. If, God willing, maybe you become a priest or a deacon one day, you will use that name. And for the healing of soul and body, you'll use that name at unction. So it's a very important thing. When our children become Christians, that is through the naming prayers, is when they essentially are included in the prayers of the catechumens. And so that is when the church blesses their name. And so if a child is born into the church, they will have a Christian name, and they will be prayed at the front of the church, or the priest will come to your home and they will give them their Christian name. So naming is very important and very powerful, and it's a way of connecting to the body of Christ. So every person will have a patron saint and a Christian name. Now, the second thing I want to talk about, again, since it's new and fresh for me because I just had my 5th child, is choosing a godparent. Again, this is a very important thing that all of us will have to do when we come into the church, or it'll be done for us if we are fortunate enough to be born into the Orthodox Church. We are given a godparent, okay? Now, when you're considering godparents, I want you to think about a couple of things. So, godparents are those that you hope will pray for you every day of your life for the rest of their lives, okay? And you should think about it as this is somebody who is becoming your family. Really, the Christian life is not one lived in isolation. It is a family, it is a community. And so every person that comes into the Orthodox Church has a sponsor or a godparent. And this is your family now. This is your connection to the body of Christ. You have to be included in and grafted in and adopted into the church. And so choose somebody who you know will be faithful to pray for you every day. The next criteria to consider when choosing a godparent is somebody who you hope can help you along in the faith. Go to your godparents and ask for their wisdom, their advice, their guidance. This is the same that's true for assigning a godparent to your children. Somebody that they can go to for wisdom and advice and prayer, okay? So that's sort of how you think about it. Now, there are different ways that families do godparents. So in some families, they will have a godparent that is for their entire family, okay? Especially if they're being received into the church as a family, that makes a lot of sense to choose one family who will sponsor you. There are other ways to do it, how our family has chosen to do it. My husband and I were received together, and so we chose a couple to be our godparents. And when we had children, we chose different families for each of our children. And the reason we chose that is because I wanted as many people praying for our family as possible. And so we're just sort of growing our family in the church in this way. And so now we have, I guess, 6 different families, since we have 5 children, 6 different families and couples who are praying for us. And when we chose godparents for our children, we tend to look for a couple. So they have a godmother and a godfather, but that is not required. Typically, if you're a female, you will have a female sponsor, and if you're a male, you'll have a male sponsor. That's not a hard and fast rule, but that's generally the case. But I see an advantage to have both a godmother and a godfather, but again, not required. So those are some things to consider when you're choosing a patron saint and you're choosing a godparent. One final word on that. I've talked a little bit about the practical aspects of it, but most truly, when it comes to making these decisions about choosing a patron saint and choosing godparents, be extremely prayerful. We are not hasty in naming our children. We spend a lot of time praying and asking the Lord to give us their name. I will typically narrow down our search when we are naming our children. I'll narrow down our search. So I'll have a list of a few saints that we are considering. And so we'll pray about that, and I'll ask the Lord, tell me their name. And so we'll be reading their lives again, and my husband and I will be having active conversations trying to discern the name for our children. Some of them have come to us very quickly and we knew pretty early on, but some of them we don't know until towards the end of the pregnancy what we were going to name our child. That's the same for godparents. Be prayerful in your discernment. Certainly ask your priest, but it's important when we are considering naming our children, we consider the name as Christians. Give them a Christian name. Some people will choose their first name. This is what we've done. Choose their first name as their saint names. And some people will choose like a middle name as their saint name. And so there's lots of ways to do it, but include the saints in your home through the naming of your children and bringing them into the family of God with the Christian name. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel so we can bring more videos like this to Orthodox Christian families. It's good to be back with you after a maternity leave, but we are excited to share more about the life of the church and how we bring it into our home. So may God bless you all as you grow your family or join the church.